Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning into the DMZ America Podcast for Friday, October 24th, 2025. Coming to you from the left, I'm editorial cartoonist Ted Rall.
And coming to you from the right, I'm editorial cartoonist Scott Stantis. And we are joined by
Politico staff cartoonist Matt Wuerker. Thank you very much for joining us, Matt. We've been doing this podcast for a few years now, pushing on, getting close to 4. But we finally figured out that we were cartoonists and that probably we should spend more time talking about cartooning and showing cartoons on a show hosted by 2 cartoonists. So you're like a recent arrival to that change because we're really geniuses here. And so we finally figured that out. And so thanks for joining us. I'll just read a little bit of bio. If any of this is wrong, blame AI because it generated this biography.
You're using AI. Oh God. Okay.
Yeah, great. Matt Wuerker, member of the Trilateral Commission. No, is renowned for his incisive, visually rich commentary on the absurdities of power. A graduate of Lewis and Clark with a BA, he honed his craft as chief editorial cartoonist for the student newspaper The Pioneer Log, blending satire with masterful draftsmanship inspired by Saul Steinberg and 19th century masters like A.V. Frost. Wuerker has been Politico's founding staff cartoonist since 2006. His watercolors, cross-hatching, and animated works appearing on the front pages and gracing many, many outlets like the Washington Post, New York Times, and The Nation, all of you probably heard of. A 2009 and 10 Pulitzer finalist, he finally clinched the prize in 2012 for cartoons that persuade rather than rant, according to the judges, alongside the 2010 Herblock Award for courageous editorial art. Based in Washington, D.C., what's left of the nation's capital, Wuerker delights in the political circus, wielding humor to illuminate truth with minimal supervision. Matt, have you been by the new demolished White House East Wing?
I have not, but I plan to go visit this weekend. Yeah.
Apparently, it's the biggest tourist attraction in Washington now. I'm not even kidding. That's what I hear.
No, I'm sure it's something to see. It's definitely something to see. I've seen the aerial photographs. It's just wild.
Yeah.
A little piece of Gaza right next to the White House. The metaphors are just thick.
Why should the Palestinians get all the fun?
Yeah, right.
So, all right. So what we're going to do here is I took the liberty of just pulling up your 5 most recent cartoons on Politico, and I thought I would just sorry.
Yeah, great.
We just show them, and you can sort of talk about your thinking, your your inspiration, and obviously we might talk a little bit about the issue around them. Scott and I will do the same. Scott and I have both been kind of lazy this week, and we haven't been very prolific. But anyway, so it'll be mostly yours. But let's go ahead.
Wait! I want to jump in real quick, Ted. I didn't disagree with Ted a little bit. I was at the beach with my grandson. Now, being at a beach house with a 2-year-old, that's not being lazy.
No,
I just want to say.
Fair point. All right, well, here we go. Here comes numero uno. Okay.
Yes.
Let me
take the old haunted house trope.
Fun to draw.
You guys have done how many haunted house cartoons have you done?
Oh Jesus!
Over your
I've been at this for 40 years. It's a lot, at least 40.
Yes. But it always works. They work. Go ahead. Sorry, Ted.
No, Matt, go ahead. Well, it's because it's so many fun things to draw, right? So much visual appeal. And obviously it's a good opportunity for people who work in the metaphor form to sort of label different things, and you can do each direct analogy, right? It's easier. It's easy. It's good that way. So first of all, do you work from photo references, or do you just sort of just sit down with a piece of paper and just draw? I assume you're still draw on paper.
I still draw on paper. Yeah. I am an anachronism in that I can work digitally, and when I travel, I work on an iPad with Procreate. But when I if I have my druthers, I like working on watercolor paper, pen and ink, watercolor. I'm way faster than in the analog world than I am in the digital world. There's no undo back button, which is great because once you lay down the wash, it's like, okay, that's purple, and you're not going to mess around and go, oh, maybe it should be sepia or something. The digital world slows me down.
This may be too much in the weeds. How big do you work?
I work different sizes, mostly 9x12. Like here's an example.
Okay.
Watercolor paper about that big, but I actually happen to have, if I know I'm going to get into the weeds and do something bigger, I go bigger like that.
So people must love your originals, Matt, because they look like the published work, right? It's like with my originals, I draw still by hand also. And, I mean, but if you buy an original Ted Rall, you're getting like a black and white, and then I scan.
Yeah, and your color goes in Photoshop or something, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, I really love. There's something about the artifact of like this is something from the 17th century or something, an old watercolor sort of thing. And I sell them. I give them to school auctions, things like that. But there's something nice about having an actual physical piece of art.
For
Not
sure.
just a file on your computer. Yeah.
Do you sell them?
Yeah. I sell them. Yeah. Yeah.
How much are they for people who are watching who want one?
If it's for a good cause like Cartoonist Rights Network, we try to do fundraising with cartoons. I'll sell them for $600 for the smaller size, maybe $800 for the big one. And there used to be more sort of cartoon auctions and things like that where you could donate them
what
to that.
What if it's ordinary Joe and Jane Sixpack wants one of your cartoons for their wall?
$500 will get you one. Depends. I mean, the drag is the ones that I really am proud of and sort of go, oh, this one I'm saving for my museum. That's a joke. But inevitably, that's the one that people sort of go, oh, I love that cartoon. It's like, I don't want to sell that. That one I'm giving to my heirs that they can then sell. So,
well, I know you're joking, but do you give your work to, because I mean, I have a relationship with Loyola University in Chicago for most of my Chicago Tribune work. And I mean, you're a graduate of Lewis and Clark, and it seemed to me they'd be real interested in having your work in their archives.
Yeah, I would think.
Possibly. I don't know. I'm like you guys. I've been doing this for 40, going on 50 years, and I have boxes and boxes of stuff.
Yeah. And they'll take it and take good care of it.
Well, maybe. I don't know. I mean, the weird thing about the craft is that probably 80 or 90% of what I do in a year's time doesn't resonate, doesn't have much resonance. Some topics that you bite into are evergreen, and that in 20 years or 50 years, people will understand what the issue was. But most cartoons are on the Scaramucci timeline. You do it on Monday, and then the following Monday, people sort of go, oh, yeah, who was that? Why were we upset? So I'm not sure that. And you can, and also we now live in the world where you can access everything online. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's I have a relationship with UT Austin for that stuff, and I think what was interesting to me was that they were as interested in my business records as they were in my cartoons. I mean, they wanted originals, of course, but they wanted the correspondence, they wanted the syndicate contracts, they wanted to know how much, the pay stubs, how much. So like if someone's studying the business of political cartooning in the future, that stuff is important to them as well. So,
yeah, Loyola was interesting in that they took all my notes, and I have notebooks, fairly copious notes during editorial board meetings and so on. And before I gave it to them, I had to redact a lot of stuff because Rahm Emanuel would be in there. I said, what a prick. And so you kind of block that out.
Thank God nobody knows how you feel about it.
You could, it wasn't a leap, but it's just like some of it in like phone numbers and stuff. Totally weird side issue. Can I throw this out at you just to show you how strange our profession can be? My brother's name is Kirk, Kirk, and I was we were, like I said, at the beach house, so we did a a video chat with them, and my other brother was visiting up there. So I typed in Kirk. I have Charlie Kirk's phone number. No idea how I got it. Yeah. How weird was that? Just, cause you type in the name and it gives you that whole list of texts. I'm going, well, shit. I didn't call it, but I just,
if you get a call from there, don't take it.
It was,
Halloween. It's not the right thing.
It took me about an hour to figure out just noodling what happened. I had spoken when I first got to the Tribune in 2009. I spoke to a young Republican group, and he organized. He had to be. I'm guessing it has to have been. That's how I got the number. He organized it.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's really
yeah. Isn't that creepy though? I mean, it's kind of freaky. Anyway, I thought
Halloween story to go with the Halloween cartoon. All right, let's put up another one of Matt's cartoons here. So.
Oh, that's great.
This one was, he just got back from the big trip to the Middle East. I mean, that was just slightly over a week ago, right? Then maybe 10 days ago. I mean, the pace of the news cycle is just nuts. And so this is a good example of something where it's like, okay, why did I have him dress up like this? And what was he? Was he a peacemaker? Where or whatever? And
you're going to have to attach.
When I hope speaks for itself.
400-word explanation to the back of every cartoon.
I don't know about this one. Well, that's a great question. That's a great question to you two guys, because the news cycle, I mean, Ted and I were talking about this. We were just on the phone this morning and talking about how Trump's whole strategy is to flood the zone. Mm-hmm. Just, the ballroom, the Middle East, sanctions against Russia. Oh, by the way, I'm going to sue the American people for $200 million. I mean, and it just never stops.
250, but who's counting?
Okay. Yeah. 50 million between friends. Does it really matter? But I guess my question to you two guys is, how do you manage the flow of this? I mean, of this maniacal maniac who is, like Ted said, flooding the zone. Matt, I mean, you draw how many cartoons a week?
I do 3. I do 3 a week. Used to do 4, but I've got.
You could do 3 a day. I mean, conceivably,
totally.
Seriously.
Totally. Yeah.
I mean, I think that would be a good model. I mean, part of me, I would love to be able to create 3 cartoons or 5 cartoons a day using my characters in AI. If I could tell AI, draw this and this in the Ted Rall using these characters, and it's still my work, but just for the art, I conceive of the idea, but it creates it. I think that would actually be the effective way to keep doing now.
It's I bet you're right. I bet that's coming. I mean, I think that once everybody adjusts to the reality of AI and stuff and the level of productivity it offers, we could go back to. I mean, I know some cartoonists who work overseas, like in countries like Turkey and stuff, and they'll do 12 cartoons a week for different publications. They're simple, they're little single panel gags or something, but that's their average output. Yeah. And you could get with AI, you could get much more aggressive with the visual style.
We're just not there yet. You can certainly get it to draw a cartoon quickly, but it just won't look like yours.
Yeah, Jeff McNally.
Go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say, Jeff McNally famously said, because he's mailed his cartoons, he went strictly syndicate for a while. He says, well, it's not like we're trying to deliver, week old tomatoes. It is, we have the time to luxuriate over the issues. That ain't true anymore.
No.
And that does seem to be a Trump. It's a Trump thing. Look, things weren't like that under Biden, and they wouldn't have been like that under a President Harris either. I've got to think that if and when historians ever get a look at Project 2025's, like the notes, like that there's files that they strategize this, and that literally they know, for example, on Friday, October 24th, in the first year of the term, we are going to sue this university. We're going to close this department. We're going to go to war against that country, right? Like they have it.
Sorry about that.
Sure. They literally have it all worked out. I think they literally know tomorrow and Sunday. I mean, of course they respond to external stimuli, but basically they have a list, and they're just like,
No, totally. No, and I think that there's they probably have, there's the Project 2025 that they actually publish as a book. And then there's Project 2026, Project 2027, Project 2028 that are great big binders, like you're saying. And they've spelled it out. And then on the wall, they keep a list of crazy red herring shit. Like, okay, let's tear down the east wing of the White House. We can do this. Let's have a contractor standing by. And, how do we keep the Epstein thing from coming out? A whole list of shit that they can throw against the fan. So I don't, but at some point, it's exhausting for political cartoonists. And I think it's also there's a fatigue that you can begin to sense in sort of the general population too. Like, what the fuck? Just let's just do one thing. I thought we were doing, for instance, Middle East peace. And, yeah.
William Shirer, who is famous for writing the Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, also wrote a lesser-known book called Berlin Diaries, where he was stationed in Berlin as I forget who he was working for, and but anyway, he was fluent in German. He listened to Nazi radio and all that, and he said that was part of the everyday life in Nazi Germany before the war, just that. Every day there was a deluge of new insanity. Every day, like we're seeing stories, any one of which we're seeing 3 or 5 a day that would have been, this one story would have been like a holy shit for 3 months or a year story, 10 years. And there's and we're just being drowned out.
It keeps the opposition on their heels. And it's very effective. It's super effective.
And it's misleading.
My question to you guys is still, how do you two filter? I mean, how do you decide? Because Ted, you do 3 cartoons a week. Matt, you do 3 a week. I mean, how do you, what filter do you use? I mean, how do you decide?
My number one filter for any cartoon is, do I have something to say that other people aren't already saying as well or better than I am? If I feel like there's a point of view that is unusual, then and needs to be said, I'll try to do it. I'm also trying these days I think a lot of the commentary about Trump is understandably very bleak and pessimistic. And so I'm trying to do something that hasn't been something I really did much before, which is to focus more on the absurdity of the whole thing. This is your cartoon here, Matt. It's a great example of that. Like now where was I? It does point out the absurdity. Or to try to look at it a different point of view. But it's basically, what I care, it's things that I care about. And it tends to be, I think we're all kind of doing that. Matt, I see that in the stuff that I was looking at from the last month of yours. It's sort of bird's eye view cartoons instead of granular, like this bill or that bill, right? It's more like a big issue of authoritarianism or the threats to democracy, right? I mean, what about you, Matt?
Well, I mean, it's funny. I go back and forth. I think that Trump could actually, on the one hand, he's a godsend, a great big gift to political cartoonists, because it's never been this juicy. I mean, the outrageous behavior. I mean, I cut my teeth back in high school and college doing stuff about Richard Nixon, and then sort of post Watergate, it was sort of like, damn, I missed it. This is like the golden moment in political dysfunction in America. The Conrads and the Oliphants and those guys. They had the heyday. It'll never be as the hay will never be this high, and the fish will never be jumping this much, or the shit will never be this deep, or whatever. And here we are. I mean,
out of the AI plane.
Yeah, right. No, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But I also feel like I was joking about this back in the first Trump administration, where I think he's doing real damage to political cartoonists, in that once upon a time we did have to do stuff that was kind of granular about boring shit like tax policy and foreign policy and stuff like that. And with Trump, it's, there's this thing about like, don't put food out in the campgrounds because the bears come out of the woods and they come down and they eat out of the trash cans and they get fat and lazy and they forget how to feed themselves. And I feel like the same dynamic is happening with political cartoonists, where we're eating out of this garbage dump of just crazy ass scandals. And if we ever got back to like a really boring technocratic president, like a Jimmy Carter or something, it would be we're all too fat and lazy. We're chewing on these big fat scandals.
I feel like that kind of happened under Biden, where there was some like it was kind of like things were pretty slow, pretty boring.
Yeah.
And after 4 years of Trump, it was kind of like, it's time to chill. But on the other hand, there's not much to do.
Yeah. Right. There weren't big scandals to sink your teeth into. And now our problem is that the scandals are sort of too big, as you were saying. It's like, it's maybe better to go with the absurdity of the stuff and try to point out the absurdity of it than trying to sort of capture this business of, like this crypto billionaire guy that just got pardoned yesterday or something. There's the levels of corruption that are going
that's a
on.
great example. That's a story that I heard of. I think that's outrageous. It didn't even cross my mind to do a cartoon about it, because I know it's yesterday's news already. It's done.
Yeah.
It's nothing. I mean, you pick and choose, and you're just like, I was thinking, I literally, when that story broke, I thought of Mark Rich. Remember when
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
That was a big deal, right? No, the bars have been low.
Now that would be nothing.
Yes.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Trump would be by his grave with his thumb up.
Pull up another one of your cartoons, Matt.
Yeah, this one will be interesting to see. I don't know how this is going to age. I hope it ages poorly. If it ages well, it means that the Nazi thing will just continue. But this is based on a Politico story that came out about the chat group, a Telegram group, with a bunch of young Republicans who were going full "I love Hitler," and then Vance came out with this sort of weird flip response, like it was some line about "I refuse to join the pearl clutching." Boys will be boys. It's locker room talk, that kind of stuff. So,
is there anything he won't embrace and say it's okay as long as he gets to be vice president? I'm serious. I mean, I don't know that there's anyone I can think of in my lifetime that is this big of a political whore than J.D. Vance. I've never seen anything like this, and everyone is buying what he's selling. It's bizarre.
Yeah, he makes Ariana Huffington look principled.
Yeah, Matt. I mean, I don't know if I've ever told Matt this, but the only time I worked in Republican politics before I went into editorial cartooning, and the only advanced degree I actually have in my possession is the California Republican Party Campaign Management College, and graduated from that. And all those rules, all the things that we were taught, this is the paradigm, this is how it works, this is how you respond, this is what it's over. I mean, none of the dominant paradigms that drove politics for 30 years of my life, public life, my cartooning life, none of them apply now. And so I look at guys like J.D. Vance. I look at many conservative cartoonists who have been never Trumpers, myself included, because he's not conservative. And it's all of this is just mind-boggling and exhausting.
He's not conservative is the essential thing. He's not. There's nothing conservative about Trump. His agenda is nothing to do with the traditional Republican mainstream conservative agenda. But meanwhile they're normalizing this kind of shit. I mean, it's just it's staggering. The other thing I do at Politico is every week I curate a sort of gallery of cartoons from around the country. And the idea is to I'm not trying to preach to any particular choir. I'm sort of trying to sort of expose people to, here's a range of political opinions. And also, as a lover of political cartoons, here's a range of visual styles and kinds of humor, and just sort of celebrate the craft every week. And the problem I have is that, I mean, my remit is to get a broad spectrum of political cartoons. And the problem is the pro-Trump cartoons are so divorced from reality. I'm not going to platform the cartoons that, are based on the idea that immigrants are eating the cats and the dogs. It's like, not true, not going to platform it. And a lot of the sort of, the conservative cartoonists who I do run are doing anti-Trump cartoons, like you, Scott, and Ramirez. And
well, Ramirez was late to the dance, but he's certainly come full out on his argument. I know when he would speak to civic groups and so on, he would say, this is, Donald Trump's not a conservative. And now he also, to his credit, Ramirez is recognizing that the damage that this is doing, not, the ignoring of due process, for instance, and the creation of a national police state and all that stuff. So you have to kind of give him credit. Rick McKee is another example early on. Who was, you can't say we didn't have conservative bona fides. I worked on Nixon. You mentioned Richard Nixon. I was 13 years old and worked on the re-election campaign, which made me really undateable through most of junior high and high school.
Anyone who owns a T-shirt with Reagan in the image of in the format of Che Guevara.
Yeah, I worked on both Reagan
and Republican. Yeah.
I worked on campaigns and worked on those campaigns and was on the Speaker's Bureau for Ford in '76. Which is hilarious because I wasn't old enough to vote. My point is I have bona fides. I really did work in these areas before I went into editorial cartooning. And I can't tell you how often I get, you're not a real conservative. And I get it from some of our cartoonist friends. Mike Lester is a great example. Who was loudly proclaiming me not conservative. And then I think he called me trans, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds like Mike. That totally sounds like Mike. Yeah. No, I did a cartoon a while back in the beginning of the second Trump regime, and it was the elephants were showing up, and it was the Overton window replacement. And there's somebody standing on the side saying, I thought that they were shifting, but it's like they've just busted the Overton window and have shifted it over to this alt-right thing that is now getting normalized. Back to this cartoon.
So strange.
Yeah, no, it is totally strange. All right,
I want to jump in real quick on this too, because I got in the first Trump term, I actually drew Trump in a brown shirt and a red armband. And I'd never. My dad was I'll make this very short. I bullet point it. My dad was was an infantryman in World War II. He was in the division platoon that actually freed Ohrdruf concentration camp, a camp you probably never heard of, but it was the first one that was liberated by American forces.
Wow, he was original OG Antifa.
Yeah.
So it's funny to be anti-Antifa. That makes you fa, right?
But my point is that I was always loath to, because Hitler was Hitler. Nazis were the penultimate image of political and governmental evil. So I almost never used the imagery for that. But then I drew Trump in a brown shirt with the armband, and I was invited to a friend's house for Passover, and part of the Passover dinner is to ask questions. And they had one of the people at the dinner was like, why did you use that image? Why did you do that? Why would you have used that? I said, at the time, it seemed a bit of a stretch, but now are you guys, did you ever have any compunction about using the brown shirts and the red armbands?
I've had a long argument with Pat Bagley, that was one of the first ones to start deploying armbands and swastikas and stuff. And I sort of had a line with the Cartoon Carousel and Politico, the gallery that I edit, where it's like, don't let's not go Nazi. It's not right. It trivializes what Hitler and the real Nazis were and stuff like that. And I think it's now at this point perfectly appropriate. So, but I was slow. Bagley was doing full Nazi regalia back in 2016, 17. And now he lives in Portugal.
Okay, so is that fair? I studied with one of the leading scholars in the country, Robert Paxton, who literally wrote the book on fascism, The Anatomy of Fascism. Highly recommended for anyone who really wants to get into the weeds into what exactly fascism is. And anyway, to me, it looks like, honestly, it's almost insulting to Hitler to call Trump a fascist, because fascism was a very, it's an ideology. It's a coherent, cohesive ideology. And certainly see fascist aspects to Trump. But I mean, to me, he fits into the mold of a classic authoritarian, like a Central Asian dictator, like Sapir Murat Niyazov, Turkmenbashi of Turkmenistan, someone like that, or maybe Kim.
Go back to the Marcoses or something in the Philippines. Yeah. A family authoritarian with an enterprise, an organization. Right.
Yes. Right. So the thing is, it feels more like that to me, right? It's like it's about police, excessive police. It's a police state. It's about surveillance. It's about intimidating authorities. Certainly, the thing. I mean, in your opponents, it's about it's about marginalizing and scapegoating certain groups. That's all true. And then hysteria over the radical left. But it's not. But you're not.
I think it's even. I would throw in. It's even just this sort of crass pursuit of money. I mean, I think that at root with the Trump administration and a lot of what we would call banana republic dictatorships and stuff, as you say, it's not a coherent ideology. It's a means to an end, and that end is a family getting really, really rich because they control the state.
And of course, also, isn't it also about an old man reckoning with his mortality by, like, hey, I'll be gone, but my giant fucking ballroom will be there forever.
Oh God, yeah. Oh yeah. No, and there was somebody did a sort of estimation that by the end of this 4 years of Trump, the Trump family will walk away with $5 billion at a minimum.
Jesus.
$5 billion, I mean, I don't. This is also
before.
Yeah. Right. No, so
that buys a lot of gold leaf.
Going to be set. Right.
That'll buy a lot of Dogecoin.
Well, I was looking at. I mean, I'm talking about Congress. I'm thinking. I mean, all of us have the three of us and other cartoonists have a certain level of power, but I don't think that's why we do what we do. We have a voice and we want to express opinions. But then I'm looking at
say we do it for the money. It's to get rich.
Yeah. Yep. That's exactly it. That sweet cartooning money we all hear about.
Exactly.
But I'm looking at like the congressmen. Why would they hold on? Why are they there? What makes them work? Why? I mean, I'm looking at elections now here in Alabama where I live, which $1 million campaigns, which was unheard of, honest to God, 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I'm wondering, why are they doing this? And it comes down to Marjorie Taylor Greene last year made over $4.5 million. Now, this is a person who you could generously say is of average intelligence. But $4.5 million, she could never, and other members of Congress, if you looked at the MAGA Trumpies during the State of the Union, it looked like, like a Special Olympics gathering. These guys were clearly idiots, but they're making seven figures. And, the best they could hope for in their regular lives is night manager at a Costco. I mean, seriously, these are profoundly stupid people. But Matt, you're absolutely right when you talk about money. And, a family, like you said, the Trump family is going to walk away with $5 billion. There's your motivation right there. I mean,
sure.
Fuck America, fuck the Constitution, fuck due process, fuck habeas corpus. And,
So is fascism a distraction, or is it just sort of like, we're cartoonists, we're being cartoonish. We're just exaggerating. I mean, I'm not above this conversation. I mean, you all know how I drew George W. Bush. So,
yes.
I love my Nazi analogies, do them all the time. So, but I mean, are we going too far when we compare people like Trump to Hitler?
Yeah, probably. I agree with the points you were just making. I mean, I think that Hitler was and Nazism is a particular virulent form of authoritarian fascism and stuff. But when you look at the stuff that goes on now with like big tech, that's old school fascism where the big plutocrats all get in bed with the government. The government uses the machinery of state to defend their interests at the expense of the people. I mean, there's that part of it too that is particularly scary with the onset of AI, the consolidation of the media.
Just today, right? I mean, just today, comes the news that, I mean, you don't know whether to, I don't know whether to celebrate or to cry. Like, well, Trump was going to go in, send troops into San Francisco for no good reason other than to terrorize the population in a democratic city. And then but the whole thing's called off because a bunch, Mark Zuckerberg called and said, "Hey, Donald, really appreciate it. You'd harsh my vibe down there in the Mission District." I mean, that's literally it, right? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm happy that that's not going to happen, but I'm not happy about how it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I would argue that I think bringing up the Nazism is fair game, because if you're conversant with the rise of the Nazis, I'm pretty confident all three of us are. It didn't start as a cohesive plan.
Right.
He tap danced, put things together as best he could, improvised, grew programs that seemed okay, killed others that were obviously not working or didn't, fall into his plan.
Yeah.
He wasn't as greedy. He wasn't as voracious in terms of consumption for personal gain that Donald Trump is. That's where
people around him were, but
No. It sort of like reminds me of George Wallace here in Alabama. People forget George Wallace died in a 3-bedroom, two bath tract home.
Right.
But his brother died in a mansion. So
it's like Hamid Karzai. Everyone around him was corrupt as shit, but he wasn't.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know. I think we've reached the point where the Nazi symbolism is apropos. I think it's
also, let's face it, how many Americans, we have to use references, and especially you guys who traffic in symbols and metaphors, you have to use symbols and metaphors that the American reader will understand and read. I mean, if you're comparing them to Ceausescu, who?
Right.
What?
Yeah.
Well, even if you compare him to who's in Hungary, and I always forget his name, and Ted always helps me.
Viktor Orban.
Yeah, I mean, you do that in a cartoon, American audiences are going to go.
Nobody. I bet fewer than 5% of the American public asked on the street, even offered $20. Tell me who Viktor Orban is.
No, completely. Yeah.
So all right, let's look at some more cartoons because that's fun and they're good. Here we go. We already have this one. Oh, so this is. I'm sorry, I have to say this is it. This is. Oh, damn it! There
Go
you
the
are.
other way. Go the other way.
I'm going to take out the old ones.
Oh God, Ted.
Okay.
Oh,
there we go. Okay, cool. And of course, there's a poop reference from the AI airplane dropping poop on the No Kings protest.
Oh, I love that.
No, this one was a good example of trying to keep up with the news cycle. So I actually sketched this out and inked it, and it was sitting on my drawing table for like a week. And I had the word fear and fantasies over in the corner there. And then the No Kings weekend, he posted the insane fighter jet with diarrhea. And it was like, oh, great. This will sort of round it out even better. So I stuck that in there. But you can't keep up.
If you didn't work at a so-called family newspaper, would you have made it shit instead of poop?
Probably. Although I never really worked for a family newspaper, so I didn't have to worry about that. Poop is funnier too, don't you think?
It is funnier. It's a funnier word.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
It's a good.
That's true.
Hey, Matt, I got to ask you about your Uncle Sam costume, because I always render him with a blue jacket and the striped pants. You've gone rogue here, my friend.
No,
you have the striped.
No,
you have the striped jacket and the striped pants.
He has a striped jacket. He definitely. You're the one that's gone rogue. The blue jacket is some other weird thing.
No, I don't.
We'll have to go back and look at
look at Montgomery Flag. I think
Montgomery Flag.
It's different.
Well, he does the one big star in the band of the hat, and some of us do the ring.
I do the Ring of Stars too. Yeah, this is one of, I forget who came up with it. They were putting together, I think it was for the NCS even. They had a panel, a faux panel that said, "Uh-oh" versus "uh-oh. The controversy rages on."
Hyphen or not to hyphen?
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Whoever's watching is going, what the fuck are they
What the
talking
hell?
Another
about?
one here. Oh shit! I do not understand why. Oh, here this thing is so weird. Okay, there it is.
No, this one I just put up yesterday.
Trojan
So-
horse.
Trojan horse, mixing my metaphors. It's a little bit
I love this
confusing,
drawing.
but
Yeah,
this
this
one
is
goes.
cool.
Thank you, thank you. See, watercolor's fun. You can do stuff with ambient light and things like that.
When you're learning watercolor, which I guess I never learned. I went through the gerund phase and never got out of it. It's so hard to control. Do you still? I mean, you've been doing it for years, but do you ever fuck up and like just sort of fuck, everything got smudged?
Sometimes, but that's the beauty of a deadline. You just you live with your fuck ups, and you sort of go, oh, that should have been more purple or something. But you don't have time to start over or whatever. And like I said earlier too, I when I travel, I work on an iPad with Procreate, and it's got beautiful watercolor effects and stuff like that. But the problem is that you can undo everything and go back, and you can do the same, work the sky 3 different ways and pick the one you want. And there's a certain what's the word, beauty, simple-mindedness to, like, you lay it down, it stains the paper, it's what you're working with. It speeds you up.
Matt, this is, by the way, where your cross-hatching style, like this kind of image, particularly, you're sort of like, it wants this kind of drawing style,
It does. It adds something to it. Although there's very few of us crosshatchers left. I don't know. It's going the way of the
Scott
dodo
used
bird.
to be a crosshatcher, not so much anymore.
Well,
No.
because I know the devices that people are looking at these things on, I've made a much simpler outline, but I still throw in some cross hatching in there. It's still
sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
There's always the residual cross hatching. But like, so would you have gotten any shit from your editor over, are you saying the Republican Party is Nazi?
I have a really sweet deal at Politico, in that I don't have any adult supervision. I mean, Politico started 19 years ago, and I was part of this little crew of 40 people when they started it up, and they had the brilliant idea that they should have a staff cartoonist. So they hired me, and for the first 6 months, maybe, I would show sketches. It was the first staff job I'd ever had. I was strictly a freelancer before that.
Yeah.
And so at age 50, I'm dealing with editors, and I would take them sketches for the first 6 months. And then finally, Jim and John just sort of said, you know what, we're really, really busy, and we got a lot of irons in the fire, and our wives say your stuff is great. So don't show us sketches. It gives us plausible deniability. A great which is actually kind of brilliant, I mean, it's a very Washington kind of tactic.
It doesn't stop the New York Times, Matt.
No, I know exactly. Well, that's their
Even
mistake.
if you didn't draw at the New York Times, even if you don't draw the cartoon, you could be fired over it.
Oh yeah. Oh God, don't start us on the fucking New York Times and what Patrick Chapad got fired for, a Portuguese cartoonist, right? What he drew. And but my deal with Politico is that the only, if I know I'm gonna like step in it or something, I'll talk to John Harris and say, you okay with this? But they don't kill him. And when I have stepped in it, their plausible deniability thing is, oh shit, that's Matt. He didn't show us the sketch. Yeah, that's a little rough, but that's not the way we work, and I didn't approve it. So in this case, the only editor that I deal with is my copy editor, who's a good friend, and he corrects my my hyphens and my ellipses and my spelling. So it's a very sweet deal. And with this one, it's like that one just went up yesterday, and
you've had nothing killed.
I haven't had anything killed in 18 years. I did a cartoon about Alberto Gonzalez, the Attorney General for George Bush, as a piñata. And I thought it was culturally appropriate. And my editor at the time said, no, let's not do the Latino guy.
A little
as
too
a piñata.
culturally appropriate.
Well, but again, it was like, okay, fine.
Yeah,
that was a game that was silly. But no, I have not.
Nice.
I did have the ADL come after me for a cartoon I did about Gaza a little over a year ago, and they accused me of being an anti-Semite.
Oh,
And
shocking.
yeah, no, I know.
That's
But
never
they
happened
were
to me once.
well, they were very strategic in that Politico is now owned by a big German conglomerate. We're owned by Axel Springer out of Berlin, and the Germans are, for some reason, very sensitive about being called anti-Semites. And
Yeah, I wonder why. Is there a
Wait,
context here?
there's
Is that a
something I
different
was
change from
remembering. Yes,
There's
yeah.
that giant German conglomerate that, like, they never criticize Israel. Is that the same one?
That's the same one. And if you're a German employee of Axel Springer, that you sign a pledge where you support the state of Israel. They didn't do that to Politico in the U.S. And frankly, they've been great. I've had no editorial interference whatsoever. When the ADL started the campaign saying, fire your anti-Semitic cartoonist, our parent company in Berlin were great. And they said that's an editorial decision for the U.S. And they stood behind the cartoon. So, they took a lot of flack for it, but they've been great. So
Awesome.
no editorial interference whatsoever.
Wow.
Let's turn over to some of Scott's work here.
Oh God. Why?
Yeah, he's the worst. All right, here we go.
Yeah, this was just the gambling scandal that's exploding right now in NBA. I mean,
oh, nice.
This is one of those place setter cartoons because it doesn't say much other than, "Hey guys, this happened."
You said it.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, yeah, there is. I mean, there is and there isn't. If you don't have a long-term plan, and the plan is this is going to tear up because this scandal is not just the NBA; it's also going to Major League Baseball, which did not get the headlines in the last couple of days, and it's going to go. The idea that this was the concept of why you can expand gambling now in America is that you can't have the Black Sox, the scandal of 1919, where the White Sox threw the World Series, because these guys make so much money that they will never be prone to blah, blah, blah. Well, I said, really? Have you seen these guys? Math, not their strong suit. And can they really make, can they really make enough money? And
well, they make a lot of money, but they make it for a short time that might even be shorter.
They don't understand that either. That's why so many professional athletes buy these ginormous houses instead of socking that half of the $50 million someplace else. They don't. Money is, I mean, look at Don King. Remember him, the boxing promoter? He always said he could, and he was right, and he did it. He got fighters. He said, I could offer them a check for $3 million or a briefcase full of $50,000 every time they would take the $50,000. Because in their minds, that's real money.
Those are people who've also suffer a lot of traumatic brain injury.
Well, football players don't. I mean, come on. My point is that this is going to be a massive scandal, and it's going to show the folly of the expansion, the willy-nilly expansion of gambling in this country. You have an app. They advertise during, I'm sorry, I mean, I'm not a prude. And I think that human beings, I'm a libertarian, have a right to be stupid. But like FanZone has commercials saying you can now, bet now on what the next play will be.
Right.
Yeah, what could go wrong?
I mean, yeah, well, I lived in, and it does come back to personal experience.
It's kind of like, it's the sports gambling version of derivatives.
Exactly. Well, I was just, when you do a deep dive into what happened in 2008 and how much of the American economy is based on gambling, that's all this is.
100%.
And so,
that part's funny, right? Like, it's all debt. People aren't like my father, 97 years old, never has owned a credit card, never took out a home mortgage, never borrowed money to buy a car. He was like, if you don't have the money, you can't afford it. And that worked for him. But if everybody did that, we wouldn't be expecting a 3% increase in GDP. It's all debt. It's all a house of cards.
Yeah. Well, Social Security is going to get a bump this year, next year, to 2.8% increase in Social Security. Okay, Ted, this is going to piss you off. Pinning the Mamdani on the donkey. The mainstream.
What, no hammer?
It's coming.
Exactly.
Mamdani is, I think, a fascinating personality. First of all, he's winning on personality because the guys he's running against are not great guys. And it's going to be interesting. In Chicago, we elected Brandon Johnson, who is a progressive Democrat. And he is fucking it up so badly. Within 2 years of his swearing in, he's already $1 billion in debt. That takes some doing. That's a level of incompetence that, you don't see just every day. And for me, this is one of the few times my conservativeness can come out and say, listen, social democrat doesn't generally work, especially in an American economy that's based on growth, innovation. And so that's that. I'm explaining the cartoon, but that's the cartoon.
But the cartoon, Scott, seems to be saying, fortunately, I have the cartoonist here to prove me right or wrong, is that the Democratic Party, is in danger of being tarred with overall as a socialist left wing or radical left party. And just because the mayor of New York, he is going to win, is going to be, I'm going to vote for him tomorrow, it's just because one guy happens to become the mayor of the city of New York. Really?
Yeah.
Can you really sell the idea that like tens of thousands of Democratic Party office holders across the country are also a bunch of commies?
No, because what I'm saying is that they're trying to say that the Democratic Party is social democrats now,
right.
And which may happen.
No,
they will try that. That's
they're
for sure.
gonna, red baiting is a fine American tradition when it
Yes,
comes to
well, that's
people yeah.
Exactly, Matt. Exactly.
Way,
and that's what I'm saying is that these guys now, the Republicans are going to point to this guy and say, this is the Democratic Party, even though it's just one guy, albeit a very high profile, important job in the country. It's not, he's not the mayor of, Birmingham. This is the mayor of New York City.
And the mayor of the city of New York has more power than he used to.
Is that right?
Notably, he controls the schools now, which he didn't used to. And, that's a major power base. There's 1 million students in the New York City public schools.
But the Democratic Party is in terrible shape right now. Someone who loves politics, let's just ignore, right, left, any of that stuff. I just like good, solid, smart politics. And it seems to me that the Democratic Party could embrace this guy and say he's part of our big tent. Because the Republicans,
that's what they should do. That's what the Republicans would do.
No, they're not. If you're not,
as we went to, I don't know, we can't say press. As we went to Pod today, literally an hour ago or so, Hakeem Jeffries finally endorsed Zohran Mamdani. The election starts tomorrow. Early voting starts tomorrow. And he's in the New York delegation, right? Jeffries is from Brooklyn. And he finally got around to like, okay. Really? The Democrat, look, here's the thing. Progressives, are already feeling, spicy and burnt over what happened to Bernie Sanders. And, not once, but twice. This is just more of the same for them. This is why a lot of progressives, especially young progressives, don't show up to vote. They're not going to vote for Trump, but they're not going to vote for corporate Democrats, and especially because they're always told, right? We're always told, vote blue no matter who. Like, even though you might be to the left, I might be to the left of Kathy Hochul. We have to vote for her because she's a Democrat. We're all Democrats. But then somehow, when one of ours finally gets the nod, then it's like, fuck that person. They have to be stopped.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's true. And the Democratic Party now has this massive opportunity. It makes my teeth itch. It's so fucking stupid. They have this big meaty middle where they could say, there's room in our party for Mamdani. There's room in our party for pro-business Democrats. I have a button up on my bulletin board in my kitchen, believe it or not, from the 1988 Republican convention as Republicans for Choice. Yes, they were, that was a thing. And I always challenge people, read the 1976 Republican Party platform. It's short and it'll blow your friggin' mind.
The EPA. Hello.
Right. Yeah, well, but the 76 platform supports the ERA. It also talks about liberalizing small L immigration. It talks about being pro-choice.
This idea that You want ladies to have equal rights?
Well, there's that.
Was it Scandinavia?
No, but I think the thing that you're both pointing to in both different parties is this question of the Big Tent and how you construct a big tent. And the Democrats have lost that, and the Trump administration, I think, is managing to blow up the Republican big tent. There's more and more never Trumpers, the more cruelty and bullshit that he engages in. There is, as you say, Scott, a big fat middle that somebody could embrace. And I mean, and to argue the other side of the equation, I think that the Democrats did probably lose a lot of independence with a lot of the culture war stuff, and they're dialing back. They're like talking about trans rights all the time. They're having to dial back DEI programs that if you work in a big corporation and you're going to racial sensitivity training and shit like that, they lost a lot of people that could have been in that big tent. And they just need to sort of dial it back toward the center, I think, is the
And I think that's what went wrong with Harris and her campaign, right? She should have just run, but she ran as a black woman first and foremost.
Yes.
I mean, seriously, it was like literally, it was like the election was about her, or at least she thought it was. Her campaign was about her. Literally, I'm with her. She resurrected the Hillary Clinton. That was a winner. It's like no. The whole point is you're supposed to be with us. Elections are about us. Let's put in another one of Scott's cartoons.
Do we have to
go up there? So Scott does a comic strip called Prickly City, and go ahead.
This one I'm really proud of this week and I like this line. This is the character saying, "This is not the America we wanted," and the other character says, "But maybe it's the America we deserve." And I love that thought. That, this is not my America. Well, you didn't, 11 million fewer Democrats voted in 2024 than voted in 2020. I mean, so whose fault is it? I mean, it's the people this is what we deserve.
Well, you could also argue that it's the people who voted, the Republicans who voted for Trump, right? They didn't have to do that. We assume they have to do that.
They were going to. We knew that they were going to. I mean, a quick story, Matt. I'll share with you real quick. When I was working here in Birmingham, I was approached about just about the time I got offered the job at the Chicago Tribune. I was offered to run for state house here. The Republican Party approached me to do that, and I said, "Well, I've got this thing in Chicago. Thank you." So then, after 10 years, I came back to Birmingham, and I said, I had lunch with a person who's deeply involved in this stuff. I said, "So is that opportunity still available?" And she says, "Can you out-Trump your opponent?" I go, "Of course not." She says, then you don't have a chance.
Right.
Yeah, in just a decade, the changes that have happened. And so you talk about the tent, and the tent is extremely tiny on the Republican side. It's not policy.
Shrinking all the time.
Yeah, it's swearing fealty to this to the fearless leader. And here I try to do a little Pogo-esque in that I anthropomorphize some characters. So how is Prickly City supposed to work without Winslow, sir, who's been laid off? He says, "What's a Winslow?" And he says, "The Coyote Cub. He's half the team here." He says, "Is he one who gold plates my stuff?" She goes, "No." He says, "Then he's not essential." I mean, I'm sorry. Looking at the Oval Office, that alone, he should be impeached. I mean, it looks like a French whorehouse.
It does. People wonder why gold has gotten so expensive. It's because Trump's buying it all up to like.
Do you have any idea how you remove gold leaf? I mean, do you, or do you just paint over it? I don't. When the next,
I don't think
it might be worn off by Trump's tongue.
Ew.
Ugh.
Yeah. But although it's a great cartoon trope, I mean, the gilded sort of background in the Oval Office and stuff. For all of our high-minded talking about comparing the moment to this current moment to the Weimar Republic or something like that, the thing that I keep feeling is that we're living in that shitty 80s movie Back to the Future, where we're living in that dystopian version of
Back to the Future 2, right? Yeah.
Back to the Future, when everything goes wrong and there's the megalomaniac is the big casino, and all of this stuff is just, it's all there in the movie. It was very very prophetic, I thought.
Yeah, I should watch that again. I watched it when it came out. All right,
can I ask you guys one political question here? Bill Maher is convinced there won't be an election in 28. As you and me.
So is Steve Bannon.
Well, that's my point. Will there be an election as you and I would consider a free and open election?
Hopefully.
I think all the signs are pointing to a complete shit show. I mean, the redistricting and all the stuff, and we're going to have 200,000 ICE agents spread around the country watching polling places and stuff. It just a complete shit show.
And that's even assuming it's just a deeply flawed election, but an election nevertheless. I mean, Bill Maher's assuming no election, right? Like, I mean, I don't think anyone can really put past Donald Trump, the idea of capitalizing on a national emergency, real or imagined, to have an excuse not to leave.
He's quite good at imagining or conjuring national emergencies, right?
Yes. Would you leave, Matt? Would you leave the country? I know you talk about Bagley has moved to Portugal. I've considered it. We've dedicated a whole show, in fact, to would we leave? Would you not?
I don't think so. No.
Why not?
I don't know where I'd go. My Spanish sucks. I've lived overseas before. I lived in Spain way back when in a previous life. And no, I don't know. No, I think you stay and fight. And it'd be a shame if everybody just sort of pulled up and moved to Canada. Although in Bagley's case, he was prescient and was talking about this 10 years ago. So I don't know if you get out early enough. But at this point, no, I think that, good people dig in and fight this stuff.
Would you be worried about your personal safety? That's what Scott and I are thinking about more. It's not about like making some kind of statement. Nobody gives a shit where Ted Rall or Scott Stantis lives.
Yeah, no, or what Matt Wuerker's drawing. No, I agree. I agree with that part. I get threats. I get threats all the time. I had one of those creepy pizzas delivered to my house that I didn't order, which somebody told me is like a thing that the alt-right people like to do to spook people and shit. So, but no, I mean, to Ted's point, the frustrating thing is I wish I had more threats. I wish that the cartoons had more a stronger effect or whatever. And the thing that I feel
I can forward you my threats so you can have them.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah, all my stalkers too. I'll give them to you.
It's not that I want the threats. It's that the threats indicate that you're having some sort of effect. And more, I just feel as cartoonists, we're just pissing in this ocean of noise and, AI generated shit and memes and all that kind of stuff. I mean, once upon a time, the Herblocks and the Conrads, what they drew, people were paying attention to, and we're so drowned out in the current media landscape that it's frustrating.
When you were cutting your teeth on Richard Nixon as a young man, both of you, do you guys think that if the media environment, the landscape looked more like 1973, and like print newspapers really fucking mattered and the Sunday paper made a noise when it hit the front door, and an editorial cartoonist could really fucking scare a congressman? Like, do you think Donald Trump and his minions would have been able to get as much done and intimidate the Democrats and basically would we be where we are now?
I don't think so, but that was such a different era. It was such a different era. It's a cliche to talk about, everybody watched the three big networks, everybody in Chicago read the Chicago Tribune, everybody in LA read the LA Times. And you had sort of singular voices on these singular platforms that had a lot of power. Paul Conrad was the only cartoonist to make Nixon's enemies list because he was drawing Nixon going back to when he was a congressman in California and stuff.
Actually, Herblock made the first list and it pissed Conrad off.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh.
And it didn't take much to piss Conrad off. Let's be clear.
No, it didn't.
But Conrad was on the second list, which really pissed him off. But yeah,
I didn't
there were
realize
two
that.
cartoons. Yeah, Herblock was on. Well, don't forget, Herblock did that famous cartoon when Nixon was vice president coming out of the sewer.
Oh, fuck yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was enough for.
I will not
Johnny
step
Depp.
down.
All right, I stand corrected.
I'm sorry.
If you guys
yeah,
don't mind, I'll put up a couple of mine, and then
What?
yeah,
Who the hell do you think you are?
it's just the guy who runs the StreamYard, and not very well apparently.
No, your lighting is quite good, Ted. Though that's good lighting.
Well, right now that's the sun from God. The window faces south, so yay God. All right, so anyway, I just thought I thought it was important to sort of, I heard, I often react to things that people say online, and it was like, and I wanted to make this broad point about how, like, well, he'll get rid of ICE. Like, for example, when the Democratic president comes in, he'll tear down that god awful, like, ballroom. And not really. I mean, there's a tendency to keep a lot of shit. I mean, look, and this cartoon came out of a personal experience. I went to the post office and things were really fucked up. And I was like, oh, right. Is that asshole that Trump appointed still postmaster general? I'm like, that's right. He's still there. And Biden kept him there, and it's like, so it literally was just sort of like, just a reminder, like, don't think that getting rid of Trump is going to solve our problems here, right? Like we need to get rid of Trump, yes, but there's underlying there's a sort of a tendency for regimes to just sort of like, we'll build this giant domestic police force like ICE. There's a tendency for regimes to repurpose and keep them. The Pentagon never shrinks, the military budget never goes down, peace dividend never happened. That kind of thing.
The thing with ICE, though, is that I think ICE is a wholly different thing. I mean, have you noticed that the Proud Boys have gone away? The Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers.
Said this.
It's because they've all joined ICE.
Yeah.
I mean,
there was an article, I forget where it came out, where it was like someone was saying that, like, that they said that, like, the standards are really, they had to drop the standards because so many like fucking idiot, like, mook criminals are joining ICE.
Yeah, no, I talked about
they're thugs. They're goons.
They're goons. They're steroided up, jacked up goons. I mean, there's a picture of an ICE agent from Chicago, and I wrote to my editor saying, this guy. I looked at what he was wearing. And it's kind of a typical cartoonist thing that we would look at what he was wearing versus the horror of the picture. And he wasn't wearing a stitch of government issued anything. This is all shit you can buy
face covered. And,
his bulletproof vest, the whole thing. And he's wearing a T-shirt that was a giveaway at a Texas Rangers game. And I said, we should do a story on this. And the Chicago Tribune, the Chicago Tribune was like, we don't have the reporters to do that. It's like, wow.
And it goes on, and they hire more, and this again becomes sort of normalized. I mean, the idea that they're running around in unmarked vans covering their faces and kidnapping people who disappear into this private prison archipelago complex, and
that's the fear that Ted and I talk about. We've talked about it on this podcast. I'd like to get your take on it, Matt, is that, they show up at your door, they arrest you, and we're thinking, well, I'll go through the courts and surely the courts will eventually free me. Well, all of a sudden, Matt, you're 2.5 years in a Ugandan prison.
Yeah, right.
That's what I want to avoid.
or even 2 months in Louisiana in some private facility where, you're not given due process at all. I mean, it's outrageous. It's absolutely outrageous. And the sad thing, again, getting back to blaming people for this or whatever, where are the grown-ups in the U.S. Congress? I mean, Nixon, there was a Republican Party that went to Nixon and went, you know what, you're over the line, you're out. Sorry,
don't worry. The two 280 senators who always say they're going to do something and never do, they'll come.
Collins and Murkowski,
will be there for us.
Yeah.
I'm going to put up something not cartooning related first, and then before I put up another one of mine. here. Scott sent this to me. This is an actual tweet /X from the current U.S. Department of Labor.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Well, apparently the American dream is only for white males with weirdly AI rendered hair, if you look at it. But it's just, and if you look at, was it you, Ted, who pointed out that the church is white, the house is white, everything in there is white.
Yeah.
I mean, this is something that would have been very much at home in 1937 in Berlin.
I was just about to use the old Molly Ivins line about it was even better in the original German.
Yeah. Isn't that astounding? I mean, that was a tweet from yesterday. This
from the government.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, or the one, that ice raid that they did in Chicago where they used Black Hawk helicopters and they brought in a film crew so they could turn it into sort of a Top Gun montage sort of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, this is part of their Project 2025 thing. We're going to instill so much fear that self-deportation will be a real thing. And we're going to just use every propaganda tactic that they can possibly use.
They are insane. And I have one more of mine I want to inflict upon you guys. Oh, shit. See, this is the thing. I believe it or not, I am not that retarded. I really do click on the right thing, but StreamYard is squirrely.
Do you edit these? You can edit this out?
I will probably just leave it in because, it's all part of the joy of doing this.
It's authentic. It's authentic.
I mean, that is how I feel, right? I mean, it's sort of like at a certain point, is it normal to be patriotic when your country and your government does so much shit? And you can't really say it's just the government because there's no resistance. I mean, I was thinking about the No Kings rallies, right? Setting aside like the execution of it. I'm not even going to get into that here. Donald Trump is every day, all day, right? No Kings is every 3 months on a Saturday. No wonder he's winning. You know?
No, I'm actually, living in Washington, D.C., I'm shocked that there aren't daily big demonstrations of all the federal workers who've lost their jobs.
Yeah, it's not like they have anything else to do.
Yeah, exactly. Or some of these unions organizing like a general strike or something of some sort, saying, I mean, there's European countries, there would be 1 million people on the streets with this level of cruelty going on. Yeah, but we don't have that tradition. And now, thanks to ICE, people are really afraid to go out and get beat up or tear gassed. So
I won't lie, I'm afraid of it. I mean, I was very proud of my fellow New Yorkers couple days ago when there was an ICE raid on Canal Street in Lower Manhattan, and some spontaneous New Yorkers warned the targets to run away. Other New Yorkers yelled at ICE. Other New Yorkers threw stuff at ICE. I was like, "Yay, New York City! Like we, can't let Chicago have all the fun." But I can't say that I would have thrown anything at them at all. I would have run away. I might have warned the guys. That I might have done. But I'm not going to stick around and battle with these fucking psychopaths.
You wouldn't have run down to Subway and got a sandwich and thrown it at them?
It's like, I always felt bad for that sandwich. Like, Subway sandwiches can be pretty good. That man, he lost a good sandwich.
There were people out at the No Kings march here in Washington that were just, instead of placards, they were holding Subway sandwiches.
I hope they ate them later.
Yeah, I think maybe they did, but they figured we can just make it. It's a political statement.
Matt, you're one of the last of the Mohicans. You're one of the last staff cartoonists left in the United States. When I got into this, there were hundreds and hundreds. And now it's down to low double digits at most, maybe down to single digits. So how do you to what do you attribute that? I mean, I'm really happy for it, but I mean, obviously they see value in what you do. Do you have any advice for cartoonists who are trying to pitch, an editor to hire them and say, what do you say to an editor to explain why, we bring readers and why the form is still, relevant and useful?
I wish I could talk to more editors about it. I mean, first of all, it was dumb luck in my case. I think I mentioned this. I was 50 years old when I got the job starting at Politico. And I approached them as a freelance client, and Marty Tolchin was staffing up this new experiment in news media. And he had the archaic notion that, of course, we have a staff cartoonist. So I got hired. But we were launched in 2007, and that was the beginning of the smartphone. The iPhone came out in 2007. Twitter, Facebook, the social media were basically born in 2007, 2008. And the very smart people that I worked for at Politico understood that there was this big shift happening from newsprint, from daily newspapers, and it was eventually going to be on these smartphones and on social media. And we may be an archaic art form or an archaic form of political opinionating, but we're perfect for the short attention span era that we live in. I mean, going back to the Thomas Nasts and people like that, cartoons communicate with people who are maybe not even literate, but they can figure out something from a sharp caricature or a picture or whatever. And the social media stuff in the beginning with Politico was really big at establishing the brand. And we used cartoons and, various things to get people's attention because we sort of understood or figured that the wind was blowing that way, and we tacked into it. And the cartoon carousel thing that we do every week, every week it gets between 1.5, 2 million views. On the site. It usually leads the traffic at Politico. And I don't understand why other publications, some are starting to do it a bit more. Like even the Washington Post, it's interesting to see where, Ann Tellner stepped away a year ago from the Post. And a lot of us were worried that the Post was going to just drop cartoons entirely. And they're now regularly using cartoons. They're starting to push them much more on social media. I think that any savvy platform should understand that a political cartoon is a great way to grab people's attention. Maybe stir up some controversy. That can also work in a publication's favor.
Reader engagement.
Yeah. So it's we may be an old art form, but we're still really right for the moment. And back to like the beginning of the conversation, like you were saying, that with AI tools, people can start to produce stuff and they don't even have to hire some weirdo like us who draws with their hands. If you have a good idea and you've got Midjourney or some of these AI graphic generators, you can start to generate your own stuff. There's problems with that, but I also think that it will continue to exist in one form or the other. The trick, to finish my long rant, is figuring out how you monetize it. And I think that's true for any kind of creative, artistic person. My son is a rock and roller and plays in a couple of bands. And big tech has done the same thing to music that it's done to cartooning and the media, in that it takes all the money for itself, and it makes it really easy to find a community and get people to like appreciate you and interact with you. But then the trick is, can you make a living doing that? And you can't eat interaction, unfortunately. So the trick is figuring out ways to bring back the idea that you pay for artistic content, and that way the creators can make a living. So
Matt, thank you so much for joining us here.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been awesome, and please hope you'll come back.
Sure, any old time.
Matt Wuerker of the Politico, Pulitzer Prize-winning cartoonist. Check him out. Check out the what is it? What's the roundup called?
It's called the Cartoon Carousel. It's very catchy, isn't it?
Check out the Cartoon Carousel. That's got alliteration and everything. We will be back next week. We're trying to move towards a more regular schedule, a more frequent schedule. We're going to try to hash that out by the end of the month, hopefully. You're watching DMZ America with Ted Rall and Scott Stantis. Thanks for tuning in. And
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Matt.
Oh, Scott, this is your turn.
Tee up a song. I don't know. Oh my goodness. You caught me off guard, Ted. I totally screwed the pooch on this. I apologize to everybody listening. and
That's
watching.
totally.
You're supposed